Total Screen proudly presents their official podcast, On Screen, with your hosts, Tyson Gifford and William Roerig. Hello, everybody, and welcome to On Screen, the official podcast of the Total Screen. My name is Tyson.
My name is Will.
And today we've got quite a few news stories, a bunch of stuff to look forward to on the horizon, and our discussion of the Season 1 finale of Peacemaker. Season 1 now, because it has been picked up for a second season. So let's kick things off with our On Beat segment. On Beat is our news segment, and we're going to start things off with the announcement that the Forrest Gump Dream Team of Tom Hanks, Robert Zemeckis, and Eric Roth are coming together again to adapt a graphic novel titled Here as a movie. It's about a single location, and it takes place over several hundred millennia. Have you heard about this graphic novel at all?
No, I was not aware of it at all.
It's an interesting title, and with the kind of the Gump team, that's kind of, I think, the real draw here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Our next news story is that John Williams is going to be returning to compose the theme song for the Obi Wan Kenobi TV series at Disney+.
Yeah, I mean, not surprising news, but welcome news. Yeah.
It is kind of surprising. He's like retired, you know? It's
yeah, but Disney has like dump trucks of money. Like,
yeah,
they'll splash out. Yeah.
He's what, 172 now, though?
Yeah, 172. Yeah, he's getting up there.
Yeah. But he's going to be doing that, so the Obi-Wan series is looking to be a bigger and bigger deal every day. Still haven't seen a trailer for it. We thought we might see one during the Super Bowl, but that did not end up happening. I wonder if it's because they were still getting that theme deal worked out, and they wanted to have the theme ready for the trailer, you know?
Yeah.
Wanted a big John Williams score to open up that trailer.
That's probably it.
Our next story is that Stranger Things Season 4 now has its confirmed release date. It's going to be split into two parts, which we love here.
Oh, yeah, that's
right. On screen, we just love when they split seasons.
Yeah, two-parters. Oh, man.
or like The Walking Dead, 3 parts for a season.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's all Walking Dead, part 2 of 3.
It's so stupid. It's like... Yeah. Just air it as a regular season, Jesus.
Yeah.
Stop trying to milk it.
At least these are coming up fairly close together. So the first part of season 1 is coming, or not, season 4 is coming on May 27th, and part 2 is coming on July 1st. So just over a month between them. So that's not too bad. I mean, if it was airing week to week, it would probably take longer than it's going to end up taking with this. So that's not too bad. But they also announced that season 5 has been picked up, and it's going to be the final season of the series, which I think is a good move. I mean,
I think it's good.
Kids are like adults now, you know?
Yeah, they're growing up. Like, there's only so much you can do with the premise before, you start repeating yourself. Yeah, it's good to end it, while they still have some fresh ideas.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to miss that, but there's some other shows that have been announced to be coming to an end as well. The Marvelous Mrs Maisel, which has been airing its third, I believe, season. Yeah, I think it's its third season. Currently, it's airing like week to week, which it normally did dumped all the season at once.
Part 5 of season 3?
They usually drop the whole season at once with this show, but they're airing it like episode by episode, like week to week. That's like Amazon's kind of gotten back into that now. But they announced that there's going to be another season, a season 5, and that's going to be its final season. So this is season 4, I guess, the currently airing one. And then also Atlanta, the Donald Glover show, is going to be ending with its 4th season that's coming this fall. So quite a few things coming to an end, but that's the nature of TV. It'll come to an end and then 25 years later it'll come back, right? That's how it works.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I know certain fighting game fans were super excited at a recent Capcom event where they announced Street Fighter 6. You excited for Street Fighter 6?
I don't care about Street Fighter. Let me preface that to say it's Street Fighter 6. It was just Ryu, and it was like the new character they introduced, Luke fighting. It was just the teaser. Like that tells you nothing interesting about the game except for the fact that's happening.
How about the uncanny valley of Ryu's toenails?
Oh God. and that logo was fucking horrible. Like
there's like 17 logos exactly like it.
Yeah, it's terrible. They need to fix that. Come on.
Yeah, they also brought it back to like the whole like hip hop music, like
yeah, which
what Street Fighter 3 that was the one that did that, right?
Oh, was it? I don't know.
I think it was Street Fighter 3 that like did all the promotion with like hip hop and stuff.
Anyway, they had like a far more exciting announcement.
Yes, especially for retro gamers out there.
Oh my God.
Capcom Fighting Collection.
Yes.
10 games, I believe.
This is great. Yeah, it's 10 games. Let me
the
get
entire
the
Darkstalker series, including like 2 games, I think, that weren't even released. It's like in the West before, so.
I think they're just Japanese versions of the same games. Like it's got like
it's
all
Capcom.
Like,
you don't. It's got Turbo Hyper Ultimate Edition. You know.
Yeah.
You know. But basically, like there were like I think 2 of the entries were never released in the West.
So
and then there was another game I think that wasn't released in the West that's on here as well.
Here, I'll find the whole thing. So obviously you have Darkstalkers. You have the first Darkstalkers Night Warriors, which was released worldwide. And you have Darkstalkers Night Warriors, Darkstalkers Revenge, which is the second game in the series. Then you have Vampire Savior, which I believe is the third game in the series. And then you got Vampire Hunter 2, Darkstalkers Revenge, which is the Japanese version of Night Warriors. Then you have Vampire Savior 2, which is the Japanese version of, I think, Vampire Savior. Don't ask me. The naming convention is confusing. What's cool is that they also added Super Gem Fighter Mini Mix, which is like a really fun
puzzle game. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. No, this one isn't the Puzzle Fighter. It's like a 2D chibi style.
I thought that was
game.
Super Puzzle Fighter, and that Super Gem Fighter was the actual puzzle game.
Maybe I'm confused.
Well, we're getting both, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, we're getting Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, and one of these is the puzzle game. The other's the fighting game.
One of them's a puzzle game that had chibi characters in it, and the other one is using those chibi characters, but it's a traditional like Street Fighter style fighting game.
Yes, exactly. And then Red Earth, this is interesting because Red Earth was this was released in the US and Japan, but it was only released in arcades. This was never ported to a home console before. So this is the first time it's being ported from the arcade to a home console. And then Cyberbots is also, Capcom wants to say this is the first time Cyberbots was literally just on their beat 'em ups collection that they released for Switch and PS4 like a couple years ago. It's a repeat title.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's it.
Yeah, it's going to be $39.99, which is a good price for 10 games. That means it's like $4 a game. And all major platforms, including Switch.
Yes, which is awesome. They're also like doing a bundle. In the US, it's digital only, but you can get a bundle with this and the Street Fighter 35th anniversary collection. Or was it the Street Fighter 30th?
I think it's 30th.
Yeah, you could get this plus the Street Fighter 30th anniversary collection, which has all the Street Fighter games besides Hyper Street Fighter 2 in a bundle. Digitally, in Japan, they're selling the bundle as a physical bundle with the special slipcase with some really awesome artwork. It's a shame that they're not doing that here, but
this package is going to include a bunch of artwork and notes, and it has even new artwork, mixing some of the games and stuff apparently. So
it's a really cool package. It's really if you're a fan of like Capcom's like 90s arcade era.
When Capcom just completely owned the arcades.
Yeah, when they just completely dominated. You will love this.
Yeah. And then our last piece of news is that Walton Goggins, Boyd Crowder himself, has been cast in the Fallout TV series, and it's heavily rumored, to the point that it's pretty much just known to be, that he is going to be playing the character Ghoul, who is an irradiated ghoul.
Yes, which I hope that doesn't end up being the character's name, because a ghoul named Ghoul is kind of like, that's silly. That's silly. Give the guy a name, okay? Come on.
Sir Ghoulington.
Sir Ghoulington, yes. But no, I expect Walton Goggins to be excellent in the role. As always, I was kind of excited because, like, for a second, I thought he was actually going to be the lead. Then when I saw, like, Ghoul, I'm like, they're not going to make a Ghoul the lead.
It did say one of the main characters in the story I read.
Yeah.
So it's not the lead, but it's one of the main characters. So, yeah.
We should note that the Fallout show is being produced by Jonathan Nolan and
Lisa Joy.
Lisa Joy. That's right. I was trying to remember her last name. Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy, who recently did Westworld for HBO.
Yeah, they also did Person of Interest.
So it should be interesting. I mean, the Fallout universe has a lot of interesting lore. There's a lot of cool things they could do, especially if they get into New Vegas stuff, which I don't know, they may or may not. But I really love the story and factions in that game. So we'll have to see how it turns out. You know what? I mean, the talent behind it is encouraging. I'm always down to watch anything with Walton Goggins in it. So, and I do enjoy me some Fallout. So yeah.
Yeah. Fallout, both the game and the actual Fallout. You enjoy both of those.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. My dream is to someday become a ghoul.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's on your vision board.
It's on my vision board. Yeah.
That is it for our news segment, though. And now we have quite a bit of things to talk about on the horizon. On the horizon, of course, is where we talk about stuff that's coming up in the next week or so. And we're going to be starting things off with The Guardians of Justice, which is coming on Tuesday, March 1st on Netflix. So what's interesting about this show is that it's Adi Shankar who did the Castlevania animated series, and he did that YouTube one where they did the mature Power Rangers, and they did like all those kind of mature versions of kind of kids nostalgia stuff, you know?
Right.
So he's doing it, and it's going to be like a cross between live action and animation using various styles of animation. So it's experimental kind of piece. So it's kind of interesting, but it's Adi Shankar. So you think Castlevania, you know?
Right. Yeah, sure.
Shadow Warriors 3 is also coming out on March 1st for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC. This is like a over-the-top kind of first-person shooter.
Yeah, it's really... I played Shadow Warrior 2. It was all right.
Yeah. If you just want a real goofy, way over-the-top, Serious Sam style first-person shooter, that's kind of what it is.
Pretty much.
And then we have a show coming on March 3rd to FXX called Dicktown. This is a continuation of a story from the Cake anthology series that was on FXX, and it follows a detective who is partnered up with his former bully. So it's his former bully and current best friend or something. And so that's just going to be a weird kind of show.
Yeah, it sounds weird.
March 3rd has got a lot of other stuff coming, and that includes The Dropout. It's a mini-series. This one's to Hulu, and it's about Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos and everything that has to do with that. What's impressive here is the cast. So it's got Amanda Seyfried, Naveen Andrews from Lost, William H. Macy, Stephen Fry, and Laurie Metcalf, amongst many others involved in this.
Yeah, they got a good cast for that.
Yeah, it's a mini-series. If you don't know about the Theranos thing, basically a bunch of billionaires in the tech industry got scammed.
Yeah.
There's a big, huge, unicorn startup, which is unicorn was what they call a startup that's valued at over $1 billion. That it was going to be the next biggest thing and stuff, and it turned out to be all complete bullshit. So this is a mini series about that. We're getting another mini series on Hulu on the same day. This one's called Joe versus Carol, and this is basically the Tiger King series. Instead of a documentary, this is the dramatization.
Oh my God! I mean, I feel like we're way too late for this. I feel like the whole Tiger King thing is over. I don't know if anybody has an appetite to watch this, but we'll see. I guess.
So you say that. that, but I have footage of you walking around dressed as Joe Exotic. Play that footage.
No.
This is a podcast. No. Also on March 3rd, and this is the thing I'm most excited about on this day, Our Flag Means Death comes out on
I'm
HBO
looking
Max.
forward to. That looks really good.
Last time I mentioned it, I couldn't remember the name of the main actor that's in it. It's Rhys Darby. He was in Flight of the Conchords, and he's been in a bunch of stuff. With Taika Waititi himself, of course, he's playing Blackbeard, Rory Kinnear, Fred Armisen, and Leslie Jones, among others, are involved in this. I believe I saw Hodor in this as well.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be great. It's definitely in that vein of comedy.
Of like a What We Do in the Shadows type of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm super psyched for that. Can't wait for that.
I wonder how long the series is going to last, considering that the person it's based off of didn't really have a long career in pirating.
Yeah.
I believe it only lasted like a year before he was dead.
I mean, it depends on how long they take, too. Like, are they going to be, and how loyal to the source material they are, you know?
Right, yeah, exactly.
I mean, they could, like, cover the entire season, could take place over a week, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Or they could just, like, make it so that it's the point where he died in real life and then he didn't actually die in the series or something. So they could do all sorts of things that would be interesting things that they could do, but it's just a really cool idea.
Yeah, it is. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Next up, again, apologies to Koenig, Star Trek Picard.
Apologies to Koenig. Yeah, Star Trek Picard. I don't know. I haven't watched the first season.
I haven't watched either. I've only heard bad things.
I haven't watched Trek past like the last film they put out. Maybe like Enterprise.
I watched the first episode of Discovery, and that's
okay. Yeah, I did watch that.
That was, I think, the last Star Trek thing I watched. But Star Trek Picard, Thursday, March 3rd, Paramount Plus. Next up, Babylon's Fall comes out on the PS4 and the PS5 and PC on Thursday, March 3rd.
There's a more important game coming out the next day, so.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Sorry.
There's two much more important games coming out the next day, actually.
Huh?
But, we'll get to it. So, getting to the next day, before we get to the games, The Boys presents Diabolical. This is the animated anthology series that you don't seem too terribly interested in.
No, but there is one interesting thing I read about it. So, yeah, the previews did not look good to me. Looked very edgelord humor type stuff. Like, it looked like Happy Tree Friends type humor. But there is one thing I saw that was interesting, and apparently Eric Kripke announced on Twitter that one of the episodes of this, because it's an anthology, one of the episodes of this is being written by the Boys creator Garth Ennis, and it's going to be set in the universe of the comics.
Yeah, with Simon Pegg as
Huey, yeah.
Instead of Huey's dad, yeah.
Yeah, because comic book version of Huey is modeled after Simon Pegg and looks just like him.
Yep.
So that's interesting, at least.
That's coming Friday, March 4th on Amazon Prime. Also on Friday, March 4th, but through self-distribution online, so not through any streaming service or anything. Mystery Science Theater 3000 is returning.
Woo! Woo! Yes.
It's going to be independent. I think it's going to be like a pay to rent or something.
Yeah, I think they learned after the Netflix thing that they can't really rely on a network or provider to keep them afloat. They did the Kickstarter. They produced the episodes. They signed a deal with Netflix, and Netflix dropped them after like the first season of episodes, which is like, come on. They did a second Kickstarter to produce more, and they said this time they're going to self-distribute, self-publish the episodes through funding from the fans.
Yeah.
And so far, that's
a smart way to do something, because this is super niche.
Yeah, this is super niche, yeah. So this is entirely fan-driven now, which is fine. I mean, it looks like it's working out well for them. The Kickstarter was very successful, even being their second Kickstarter was also very successful for them. So I'm happy.
Yeah, it's interesting because this is like, it doesn't require that much money to make this show. So this is kind of like something that really makes sense as a business model, for such a super niche audience.
Yeah, like it's low production value. You got like the actors and costumes. The sets aren't really elaborate.
Yeah.
You got the puppets. I think the most expensive part, I'm probably talking completely out my ass because I've never produced a show, but I'm guessing the most expensive part is the licensing for the films that they use.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my guess.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, I mean, this is a smart way to do it. I mean, they did the Rift Track stuff through kind of self-distribution too, you know? So this is kind of, I think this is just a smart way to do it.
Yeah, Rift Tracks isn't really associated with the producers. It was Mike and like, I think a couple of the voice actors from the show that doing their own thing.
Yeah, I just mean like that model makes sense to me for something like this, you know?
Right.
And now on to the 2 video games that are coming on March 4th. First up, Gran Turismo 7 is coming out on the PS4 and PS5. And after that, Triangle Strategy, also coming on March 4th on the Nintendo Switch.
You can guess which one I'm buying.
Gran Turismo 7.
Yeah, I'm racing that.
You have a need for speed.
I have a need for speed.
But not the Need for Speed game.
No, yeah.
Only the Need for Speed movie with Jesse Pinkman.
With Jesse Pinkman, absolutely. That's my jam. No, I'll be a Triangle Strategy, of course. Like, give me that HD 2D Final Fantasy Tactics-esque goodness.
Yeah, definitely. I've been playing the prologue demo. I'm going to work my way through it in time so that I have a smooth transition over to the actual game.
Nice.
And then lastly, on Friday, March 4th, the biggest by a pretty big margin, I believe, of everything coming out in this On the Horizon segment, The Batman is hitting theaters.
Yeah, that's going to be huge. We're looking forward to that. Everything that's come out of that looks excellent.
Yeah.
It looks like it's going to be one of the biggest movies of the year so far.
It'll be the best thing to happen to DC since James Gunn.
Also, Sony announced that Spider-Man No Way Home is coming to video on demand March 22nd, physical on April 12th.
Yeah, that's a ways off, though.
It is. That's true. That's a bit far for On the Horizon. I guess you're right.
It's just about a month out.
I'm sorry. I'm just a little excited. That's all. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but we'll finally be able to talk about No Way Home, and then we can do our MCU tier list that we've been wanting to do for a while.
Yes.
So that'll be fun. But that brings an end to our On the Horizon segment, and that means we only have one segment left, and that is full spoilers. In which we are going to discuss Peacemaker, Episode 8, the season finale, It's Cow or Never.
Yes. Oh my God. This season finale, it's so great. Well, first of all, I want to point out that this really shows off John Cena's acting chops.
Mm-hmm.
It just opens on him. We finally get the full... he's mourning, what he just had to do to his dad.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole thing. And it's, it's crazy.
Yeah. It also came out now that everything about the fake journal that was planted by Leota, and she's now very sorry about it, but
oh God, that's a
typical reaction.
Yeah, they were making Peacemaker and Vigilante were just making farting sounds with their mouth. It's every time she's like, "I'm sorry," and they're like, they keep doing it, and then eventually Peacemaker starts to get over it, and Vigilante's still doing it. It's like, dude, we're over that. That was a great
Vigilante
scene.
Can never read the room.
Right, yeah, exactly.
I think what I might have liked the most in this episode is John Economics.
Oh, John,
yeah. He had the great dye-beard dialogue scene.
Yes. That scene was fantastic because what was happening, I love the scene because as James Gunn explained it, he was literally put in a situation where he had to be genuine. He had to literally be himself and be truthful, literally to live.
Mm-hmm.
So he could no longer hide the fact or make excuses about his beard, and the whole story was just crazy. And the big takeaway from that is the fact that he literally was dyeing his beard to be seen. And the point is, even when he stopped caring, and his beard became mismatched and everything, nobody ever commented on it or cared. And that wounded him more deeply than if somebody was to insult him. And the fact that Peacemaker constantly kept pointing it out and throwing it at him, it made him feel seen for the first time. And that had an impact on him. And I think that was a big point out, like how Peacemaker's like actions or the things he says impact people in ways even he can't like, foresee or understand.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the best parts about that is as he's telling this whole story and having to go into detail about it, it keeps cutting to Peacemaker and to seeing his reaction to it,
Yeah.
And seeing his very human reaction to it, to something that was such a joke to him before.
Right.
It was just powerful. It was interesting, But then I love that when they finally, like, John Economics and Leota were like staying behind. And when they finally, like, Leota's like, well, we need to go in. And she hops the fence to go out. And he just kind of like gently walks over the fence and shatters his fucking leg.
Yeah. Like, it's like the most comical thing because he takes like, a gentle freaking fall and he like completely breaks his shit. I'm like, Jesus. Like, the fuck
He's like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah. I was like, did he fall on a rock or something?
It's just a really funny moment.
Yeah, it's really funny. Yeah, it's like James Gunn's like dark humor there. But yeah, no, that was the scene where like they all went into raiding the barn, and they were taking out like all the butterflies who were outside patrolling, and it was like this big scene fired up, like the theme song started playing and everything, and then like
it was a crazy action scene too, filled with like decapitations and
god,
it was like a straight up like Avengers scene with
like his shield and stuff. It was crazy. It was awesome, and then everything goes south like for everybody, like Peacemaker like ends up trapped. Vigilante and
Hardcore.
Vigilante and Hardcore are both shot. Hardcore is like almost fatally wounded, certainly like she's bleeding out. Like Vigilante is not in as much trouble, but he's down.
I love when Vigilante got hit though, and he was like, oh fuck, and then he like just threw a knife behind him and killed the guy.
Yeah, as he was falling, as he was passing out, he chucked the knife and still like got the guy like square in the temple.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, oh fuck, and it was like, and then you saw like the theme song, like it was as it was lingering on the shot of Hardcore bleeding out, the theme song was like distorting and warping, like the dream was dead, and that was like one of those sequences where in other shows or something it would flash back to the character, and then that whole scene hadn't happened, like that was like in their heads, and that's how it goes wrong. But no, this is how it played out, like they stuck with it. That's when Leota goes in there. And of course, like, John Economics just breaks his shit. Like, it goes wrong for him, too. And he doesn't even, like, really do anything,
Yeah. Well, before that, he got to place the helmet,
he got to place
Sonic
the
Boom
helmet.
Attack, which was good.
Yeah, which is good. He placed the helmet for the Sonic Boom Attack. Oh, yeah. That's another thing. Like, when he was coming back from that, like, that moment where, like, the butterflies were swarming him and Leota couldn't, activate the helmet, I thought for sure he was dead at that point. Because when she, like, picked up the walkie and she dropped it for the first time, I thought, yeah, that's it for John then.
Such like a what the fuck moment.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Did you seriously just drop the walkie?
Yeah, and then they're fumbling, looking through like their grasp for the thing. I was like, oh no, but thankfully they were able to save John. Of course, like, it doesn't go bad for our heroes because first off, Leota finds Hardcore and she saves Hardcore from getting taken over by a butterfly, because butterfly's crawling in her mouth and she's like too incapacitated to do anything about it. But Leota takes care of that. And then Leota goes looking for Peacemaker in the barn. And while she's looking for Peacemaker, we think she finds him and digs him out, but really it's Goth who digs out Peacemaker. And I was right. I was right about Goth and like Peacemaker's relationship because Goth like believes Peacemaker is like sympathetic to what they want to do.
And he would have been like it fit to his ideals,
Right.
The idea of like bringing peace.
And so Goth sees Peacemaker as a potential ally and tries to get Peacemaker on board.
That's also why Judo Master is on the butterfly side. We find out they said that he would be on their side for the same reason Judo Master was.
Yes. Judo Master completely bought into what they were selling, which is cool because which is another piece of Judo Master you find out because like when you first meet Judo Master, you're not sure what his deal is. Like, is he there because they're just paying him well and he doesn't care? He'll take the money and do anything. Like, is that the kind of person he is? And you find out like he was there because of his ideals. Which, by the way, we don't get much. We get a scene of Judo Master at the end where he's looking over the carnage and he starts crying. And so I'm excited because it got confirmed they're doing a second season. So I'm hoping we get more into Judo Master in a second season. Like, he plays a bigger role. Because he was definitely an interesting character that they didn't do much with this season.
Yeah. Except have him sneak up on people and then completely blow his cover by eating loud, crunchy snacks.
Yes.
But yeah, we had Peacemaker went down to where the cow was after they'd used his helmet to kind of destroy the barn. He got, like you said, got trapped underneath the rubble, and Goth ended up pulling him out where we thought it might have been Leota, but it was Goth. And he's like looking like he might be going with her thing in the same way Judo Master did. But then, like, right at the last moment, he sees Leota kind of stumbling through the wreckage with her helmet, and he activates.
Oh, by the way, yeah, we should point out, okay, before we say this, we should point out at the beginning, like towards the beginning when they first like get there, they're looking over like Peacemaker's helmets and trying to determine which is the best one to use. And he points out that
floated off.
Yeah, the one that can fly, like Leota accidentally activates it and it floats away. And then like there was the one, the human torpedo, which Peacemaker says is a good idea to use because it just like launches you straight at like whatever target you're pointed at, you know, and it says it'll just break all your bones. That's the helmet Leota is wearing when she's trying to like rescue Peacemaker.
Yeah.
So Leota gets there. Peacemaker makes his choice. He activates the human torpedo helmet with Leota still wearing it, and she goes flying straight into the cow. And again, this scene is like, it's character growth, because if you go back to Suicide Squad, Peacemaker was all about the mission. He chose the mission over his team.
Yeah.
Basically, he was like, you know, the mission, this is the complete opposite of this.
Yeah.
And this time, instead of choosing the objective, he chooses his team.
And that's the reason he gave, too, because he was asked, you know, why did you do it? You know, this kind of went with your ideals. And he said, because they would have killed all of you.
I think part of that was not just because he grew so close to these people, but also like he's still carrying the regret of what he did in the Suicide Squad, still carrying the regret of killing Rick Flag. We saw that several times.
Yeah.
You know,
even in the Suicide Squad, we knew that was something that was very hard for him. You know?
Yeah.
That he like looked up to Rick Flag, kind of like Vigilante looks up to him.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that got resolved and they finished off the cow and they were taken off. He shoots Goth, but not in the head. He lets the bug survive. And he sees the bug fly off and it's not like he missed or something. He just decided not to kill. Because the bug can't do anything anymore anyways. The cow is dead. It has no food source anymore to sustain it.
Right, yeah. The last scene, like, when they show, like, yeah, Peacemaker still has Goth, and he's feeding Goth, like, that's the last of the food source. So it's kind of like, it's funny, like, when they're in the hospital and stuff, and Hardcore and John Economics is like, John Economos, I believe is his name, gets, like, carted to the rooms, and Vigilante is just like standing there, and like Peacemaker is like, dude, you need to be admitted, and he's like, nah, I'm fine. He's like, no, dude, you were shot. Like, and then Vigilante just passes out in the middle of the floor.
Yeah, Vigilante's still my favorite character.
Then we see him just getting out of his bed and leaving the hospital out a window.
Yeah. We should say before they're being treated and everything, we get treated to one of the best cameos in TV history.
Oh yeah, we should, yeah. This is fantastic.
As they're walking away, Peacemaker is holding Hardcore, who looks like she's dead at this point. She's not, but she looks like she's dead.
Yeah, well, her at this point, like, her fate is very much in the air.
Yeah.
So we don't know what's happening.
And he's walking off, and the whole group is walking off, and they just, you know, finished off the butterflies and finished the mission. And you see kind of like this, like, lightning-looking stuff happening, like, kind of like reflecting on them. And then it cuts around to the other side, and you see the Justice League descending. You see Superman, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, and the Flash. That's why we saw the lightning reflection, was because of the Flash.
Yeah.
And then as they're approaching them, Peacemaker's like, "You're late, assholes."
Yeah.
And then he says, like, you know, go back to fucking fish or whatever.
He walks straight past Aquaman and says, Go back to fucking fish, you dick, or something like that.
Yeah. And then we get the reveal that it wasn't just some kind of like, in the shadows.
When you see them, they're all silhouette, right?
Yeah.
And so like you think, oh, okay. But yeah, we get to reveal that. When he walks by Aquaman, we see that's actually Jason Momoa. And
he's like, I'm so sick of that rumor.
And then like Ezra Miller
as the Flash is like, but it's not a rumor.
He's like, shut up, Barry. Okay, so this is great. Not just because we got Jason Momoa and Ezra Miller in the shot. Like, yeah, that's cool. But no, what's really cool about it is, and what I love about James Gunn is that even like the smallest things lead to like huge payoffs. Cause like in the very first episode of Peacemaker, and it was reiterated again in this episode, but like in the very first episode, Peacemaker, makes that accusation that Aquaman fucks fish.
Yeah.
And also, like, he spends the rest of the season, like, taking shots at the rest of the Justice League and stuff.
Oh, yeah. All the time. He's basically, it's in his character to put down the other heroes to, like, elevate himself.
Right, yeah, exactly. And when you hear that, like, at the first episode, you think that's just a funny joke. Because that's a common joke people have made over the years about Aquaman for, like, a long time. So you just think, yeah, that's funny. He said the thing. But then, like, the payoff of that is it leads to Jason Momoa actually showing up as Aquaman and having to respond to that accusation in person. Yeah. And that is amazing.
Yeah. I've heard somebody say that this is the kind of thing that Marvel can't do because it's like Marvel being a victim of their own success, basically. That the MCU works too well for them to like jeopardize it by having like crass comments like in relation directly to it. I mean, who knows? Maybe when they make an MCU Deadpool movie, we'll see something.
And
like
James Gunn was talking about doing this scene. Like he was in talks with Jason Momoa about doing the scene since he wrote it. So before they even shot anything, he was in talks with Jason Momoa specifically about doing the scene. And Gunn said he was like worried about how he would take in how the director of Aquaman films would also take it. So James Gunn said in an interview, his pitch to Jason for it was like, okay, look, Peacemaker is an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He just says this shit. And James Gunn said, like, to his release, Jason was cool with it. And Jason was like, yeah, totally. We'll roll with that. That's awesome. And Ezra Miller wasn't even originally planned to appear in the scene. Flash was just going to be silhouette, just like the other two. But then apparently, like, Ezra Miller found out, like, they were doing that scene. And he happens to be, like, a huge fan of James Gunn's work. And so James Gunn found out that Ezra Miller wanted to also do that scene. And so that's how he got to show up.
There's also, in talking about the behind the scenes stuff, there's a cool thing about cooperation between DC and Marvel because apparently one of them, I think it was Ezra Miller's appearance, because they were all filmed separately, like Ezra and Jason, they weren't like on the set together or something.
James Gunn said, like, they weren't originally both planned to be in that scene.
Yeah.
He was initially just talking to Jason about it.
Well, I mean, both of them, neither of them were on set with the other actors either.
Right.
Like, their parts were filmed completely separately. But Ezra Miller, I believe it was Ezra, his part was actually filmed, like, by Marvel.
Right.
Marvel Studios filmed that for him, and it was...
Well, he said James Gunn said it was, like, the filming crew that he had for Guardians 3.
Yeah.
So that tells me, like, he really had to, like, squeeze that in because apparently, like, he had to squeeze that in while he was filming scenes for Guardians 3.
Yeah. But what's cool about that is that when they said, like, oh, that's cool of Marvel to do that, and he said, well, they kind of had to because apparently DC filmed the screen test for the actor who plays Myrn in this is going to be in Guardians 3.
Yes,
and DC filmed his screen test for Marvel.
That's really cool.
So, like, it's kind of like we got this little cooperation, which is, like, fun, you know?
Yeah,
it's nice because you have a rivalry between these companies, but it's nice that they can play nice with each other.
Yeah, it is. It's really cool. Now, bring more back to what your point. So he's like, Jason was cool with it, but the most important thing, like, he was surprised. He was surprised that DC was cool with it. When he wrote the scripts, he expected, like, DC or Warner Brothers to, like, object to the things Peacemaker was saying about, like, their properties. And he was like, surprisingly, DC didn't mention that. He mentioned in an interview, though, one of the notes he did get from a producer at Warner Brothers about it was like when he made the Batmite reference, and I believe that was episode 2. He made the Batmite reference, and like the producer asked him, do you really want Batmite to exist in this universe? And he was like, yeah, why not? It's like, And we should say, yeah, Hardcore ends up living. We get this great scene where she wakes up in the hospital and she finds Peacemaker there, and he's been like waiting there like the whole time, I believe. I don't know, like it's been more than a day at that point, I believe. And he was just sitting there waiting for her. And we see she's holding his hand and tears stream down her face. Another fun anecdote from the shoot is James Gunn said that John Cena in that scene was actually crying, even though the camera was not pointed at him. They were not filming him, but he was also crying during that scene.
Another thing to mention is that Jennifer Holland, who plays Hardcore, is married to James Gunn now.
Yes. Yeah, I saw that.
James Gunn has that group of people that he calls upon, you know.
But James Gunn did say, like, initially he was planning to kill off Hardcore, and then he changed his mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people, their perception is that it's good to kill off a character because you have the impact. But I think that what probably ended up happening with James Gunn is that as they're working their way through everything, they realize that they already got the impact. They don't need to actually kill the character.
Right, yeah, exactly.
And if you don't have to kill the character, then that means that you can use that character again.
Yeah, and you create more interesting stories with that character. So that's cool.
That's pretty much it. Anything else to say about the Peacemaker Season 1 finale?
I can say I'm looking forward to Season 2.
Yeah, I am as well. It was a great episode. One thing we didn't mention was Eagly failing to drop the helmet.
Yeah.
Which is just a funny scene.
Yeah, that was a hilarious scene from the beginning. Yeah, I thought of it, but I did get a chance to insert that into the conversation, but that's fine.
But now we have.
Yes, now we have.
So that's it for our full spoiler segment and for the rest of our show. Next week, we don't have a plan yet. Do you want to do Disenchantment?
Yeah, we could do Disenchantment. Like, that seems fine.
Okay, so next week we're going to do Disenchantment. So stay tuned for that. And until then, you can follow us on Twitter. I am at Tyson Gifford. You can follow Will. He is at Voxel Hero. You can check out our website, thetotaliscreen.com. You can subscribe to our podcast through your podcast client of choice, including Apple Podcast or Pocket Cast or any of the podcast apps or services that are available to you, wherever you get your fine podcast. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Good night.
Night.
Thank you for listening to the OnScreen podcast, the official podcast of The Total Screen. Visit our website at thetotalscreen.com. This podcast can be found on any major podcast client, including Pocket Cast and Apple Podcast. The entire backlog of this podcast and other content can be found on our YouTube channel.